I'm doing my presentation on the discovery of CTE. 92% of study deceased NFL players have been diagnosed with CTE. This is an alarmingly high percentage since the disease was only discovered in 2002. This discovery was made by Dr. Bennett O'Malley when he had an autopsy of NFL center Mike Webster. My goal for this presentation is to educate you on CTE, what it is, its discovery, and how it's trying to be prevented by the NFL today. I'll start by explaining to you CTE and what it is. CTE stands for chronic traumatic encephalopathy. This disease kills neurons in the brain and kills multiple brain cells. It's caused by repeated trauma to the head, primarily through the frontal and medial lobe. You can see why this is common in the NFL, as repeated hits to the head occur every day and every game, every play. 92%, once again, is such a high percentage, and for the thousands of players that play today, this is becoming a danger to the sport. This disease leads to memory loss, aggression, speech trouble, seizures, confusion, depression, and many other symptoms that are cause for concern. These symptoms, however, can be confused for other things and other diseases and other mental problems in the brain. But make no mistake, CTE is common in NFL players. CTE discovered in 2002 by Dr. Bennett O'Malley. Dr. Bennett O'Malley, for a short background, is a Nigerian-American physician and forensic pathologist. His discovery in CTE through Mike Webster's autopsy has been recognized by many other physicians and doctors around the world. He received the 2016 Distinguished Service Award, which is the highest of AAA's awards for his work of CTE in the NFL. We'll get to his discovery later, but I want to talk about the man he discovered CTE in, and that's Mike Webster. Mike Webster is an NFL center who played from 1974 to 1990. He is primarily known for his playing with the Pittsburgh Steelers, while also he had a short stint with the Kansas City Chiefs. He was inducted to the NFL Hall of Fame in 1997, just 5 years before his death on September 24th of 2002. He was 50 years old. His cause of death is labeled as a heart attack. However, people were confused about his dementia, amnesia, and spiraling depression in the later years of his life. A direct quote says that Webster lived without a permanent residence from 1993 to 1997. His problem in many ways, those are his problems with amnesia, dementia, and depression, stemmed from his developing CTE, a degenerative brain disease associated with repeated head trauma that resulted in prolonged periods of depression and dementia until the end of his life in 2002. When Dr. Bennett O'Malley was given the opportunity to do the autopsy of Mike Webster, he took into confusion these different things, and he decided to take a deep look for himself. He was studying the brain of Mike Webster when he found shrunken brain cells through different imagery of his brain. These shrunken brain cells were already cause for concern, and then O'Malley found the tau proteins were scattered all around Webster's brain. Tau proteins are the proteins that maintain the structure of neurons in cells. So with these tau proteins spread all across his brain, there were neurons that were not working and cells that were dying. And with these neurons not forming anymore or not working the way they're supposed to, this is what led to the memory loss of Mike Webster and different other symptoms that he was suffering from. This is a very high thing to look for physicians when neurologists when they are, neurologists when they are doing autopsies and they are trying to declare if someone has CTE or not. They look for these tau proteins to be spread across the brain and the neurons in the brain to no longer be working or to be shrunken. O'Malley said in a quote, "These abnormalities I were finding were not something I would see in a 50-year-old man." He would continue on to say, "Academic colleagues in neurology and neuropathology at the University of Pittsburgh agreed that the tau protein was highly unusual." This is how it's diagnosed today. But this is how it was originally found in Mike Webster and how Dr. Bennett O'Malley was credited with CTE discovery. A picture that O'Malley has released of Mike Webster's brain in the autopsy, you can see possibly on the left is what a brain that has had low head trauma or impacts to the brain would look like during autopsy compared to Mike Webster's when he did the autopsy in 2002. An obvious difference can be found, and a concerning look, as this imagery of the brain is not something you would want for your own brain or for other people's brains. Omalu has dedicated a lot of his research into CTE and how it can be prevented, and that's where we get to CTE today and how we try to prevent it. Through this discovery of CTE, prevention has become a priority for the NFL. Prevention through studies on protecting the brain due to O'Malley's discovery has been monumental in the NFL. Prevention through neurological studies that don't allow players to come back into the game or come back to even play in future weeks until they have passed neurological testing that says their head trauma has been relieved and they are no longer in danger of permanent head trauma damage. Research has been highly funded by the NFL to find a prevention or even cure to CTE. However, no cure has been found, but prevention has been highly encouraged, and we're finding encouraging results through prevention. These include helmet safety increases through companies like Riddell and Schutt have worked together with the NFL to make safer helmets, and they've worked with neurologists and doctors on how to make helmets safer through what's called helmet science, and shock absorption through the helmet has become a massive improvement to how helmets have been in the past. There's no cure to CTE, as I said before, but doctors seem to be finding a way that they can diagnose CTE without having to do an autopsy. So, in other words, they might be able to diagnose currently living NFL players of CTE instead of only players that have passed on. This can be seen in NFL quarterback Jim McMahon, who doctors are highly believe that he is suffering from CTE, even though he has not passed away, compared to players such as Webster or such as Tyler Sash, who passed away and then were revealed later to have CTE. Another popular progression towards prevention has been new in the past few years, known as Guardian caps. These Guardian caps seen on a helmet here are extra padding added on top of the helmet that allows the player to absorb hits to the head and not directly to the brain. The NFL has highly encouraged players to wear these Guardian caps. However, it is not required yet unless it is preseason practices. Off-season practices, the NFL has required players to wear the Guardian caps, and concussion numbers have encouragingly gone down when players wear these Guardian caps. However, it is not a foolproof plan to prevention of CTE. In the end, it will be a long run and a long journey to preventing CTE, but however, this discovery by Omalu and through the life of Mike Webster and through the life of other NFL players who suffered with CTE throughout the end of their life, throughout this discovery, has been life-changing for thousands of players, and we hope to see more research towards prevention and more action taken towards prevention of CTE so we can possibly save the lives of hundreds of other players. And Omalu will always be a monumental mark for the NFL. Omalu will always be remembered in the NFL for this discovery, and I'm hoping that this presentation has given you more insight on CTE and maybe more of an awareness for those who play sports and those who maybe have taken hits to the head before in football or other sports, to be careful with how you treat your brain. It's the only one you've got, and it's very important to treat your brain right and treat your brain safely. Thank you.